Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another BRAP rant. I have with me today Mr. Slow-Mo Backslap, King KD himself. What's up, Slow-Mo?
Man, here we go. What's up, man? What's up, Enrique? I don't know about being King KD. I do okay in multiplayer games. I'll say that. I'm do all right. I can hold my own. I will leave it at that. But no, man, it's good. It's good to be back with you, man. I know I've been a little missing from.
Oh, no,
from
don't worry about it, man.
Wednesdays, but
No,
you know.
no, with good reason, sir. Don't. Yeah, I mean, it's great to talk video games with you, and great show last night. By the way, before we went live, I mentioned that you and Gaming Forte had a great show. I mean, it's always a great show, but last night was really actually parts of it were very entertaining with Forte throwing slander at Persona 4.
Always slandering games he ain't never played.
Yes.
Shout out to the homie, man.
Did you say something like, "Hey, stop playing Destiny, maybe try some new games"?
I've been telling him this for years. You know, like if you didn't play Destiny as much, maybe you would actually know that in Persona 5, you're not just in school 99% of the time. Like, maybe you try the game. It's like 3 of them in Game Pass right now. He still hasn't played a minute of any of them because you waste all this time playing that trash Destiny game. Which, yeah, of course I know. There's some Destiny fans in the chat's probably gonna get all upset. I don't care. Okay. I've got 500 hours wasted in that game, so I know it's trash.
Oh man, well, isn't he? He's playing. Isn't he also playing Resident Evil 4 remake?
He is playing that.
Okay.
Serenity says my mic is too low. Let me see if there's something I can do.
Yeah, turn it up a little bit. I mean, I could see it's coming a little low on mine. I can hear you.
I'm at my maximum on Discord, so let me.
Yeah.
See if there's somewhere else I can switch it to. All right.
All right, while Slow-Mo is adjusting his mic settings. Look, want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you so much for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Do me a quick favor. Drop the link. I'm going to drop the link here. And please retweet or share the link on your favorite social media platform. I don't, might be on BRAP Send. Let me check here. I don't think so.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah, it's a lot better.
Oh, good.
Yeah, because I have you. I haven't changed. Oh man, Slow-Mo Mike has low as Xbox sales.
Oh man.
See, that's messy. We're being messy here. Look,
we're being messy already.
We're being messy already. Yeah. So hopefully everyone can hear Slow-Mo better now. If you guys can hear Slow-Mo better, just give us a thumbs up in the live chat. But and also, to be a favor, smash that like button. I'm doing double duty here today. Going to be jumping on Crossfire on Mooch's channel here, probably about an hour.
Yeah, Lily, every time, I don't know where I heard that from, the cross, but it's like every time I hear shout out to Mooch, every time I hear the name of Mooch's show, that's literally what plays in my head every single time. It's so weird.
Yeah. Is there like a game called Crossfire or something, like a board type game or something?
I don't know what that's
I feel like
from. I feel like it's like it's gotta be like a song or a commercial or I don't know, man. Like maybe someone old like myself will actually be able to help my poor memory get it. Maybe people
Slow-Mo,
really going in.
They're saying your voice quality. Right, yeah, they're saying your voice quality is 30 frames per second, man.
Oh man, do I need to turn it up?
No, you're good. I think you're good. You're good. Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Definitely louder. I think they're just.
I definitely don't want it to start peaking. But
yeah, no,
you don't. It's 100% in Discord. I turned it up in Windows. I turned my mic up in Windows. It was a little low. It was like at 40.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, so I turned it up to 60. So hopefully I'm good now.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, and I always watch my voice meter whatever meter, whatever thing that shows me how loud I am or whatever. But anyhow, But yeah, so I'll be on.
About,
yeah, I'll be on Crossfire tonight. That show goes live at 7:00. Mooch is gonna have. Oh, geez, who's he having on tonight? He's having a lot of people. Hold on, let me. By the way, we're gonna have Doc Dark on BRAP Wednesday. So he'll be first time that we're having Doc Dark on, who apparently is Porter Rock's younger brother, but not really.
I like him. He's pretty cool.
Doc Dark's funny. Yeah, he's funny. I watch his stuff, his content, and he was on some on Reforged Gaming today as well. And so, but yeah, no, I've been meaning to, because I did Crossfire with him a couple weeks ago, and been meaning to get him on because he's never been on the show before. So yeah, he'll be on. Doc Dark will be on with us this Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. But Mooch, who's gonna? I know Kids Move is going to be there. Maybe Forte. Unless Forte's, he's usually working.
Yeah, he's usually working.
Yeah, he's usually working today.
If people slander Destiny enough during the show, then he might, jump in on his phone with a terrible mic and try to defend Destiny's honor or something. But yeah, TCMF2, I forget who that is. Porter Rock will be on. Chris Righteous, Warrior Word, Reforged Gaming will be on. So yeah, it's gonna be a stack show for sure. But yeah. But look, Slobo, I in my mind you're King KD, but I know you're saying, hey, look, I'm okay. There's one thing you do know, Slomo. There's one thing that you absolutely do know, and that's first person shooters. Well,
yeah. If I ever have
I am well familiar with those.
Yeah, and if I ever have a question about a shooter, I'm going to Slomo. Like it's not even I'm not even thinking about. It's not even like, oh my god, who am I going to go to? It's Slomo. It's easy. It's easy. Go to Slomo, ask a question about a first person shooter game, or maybe mechanics in a shooter, or whatever the case is. And nine times out of 10, he's going to know or have an answer for you, or give you some insight into a particular game.
I try.
Yes. I try. Yeah, and you play a lot of the newer shooters that either are in beta or that are probably not as popular.
I play a lot of multiplayer games, whether it's first person or third person. I just have I like the challenge. I like to dominate people, and I like to if I do get dominated, I like to definitely pause. I do like the challenge of like learning a game's mechanics and getting better. There's just something about that's always been just kind of like within gaming a little subset of personal things that I like to do when I play games. Everyone loves, like, other people love great stories in the game, or they love build diversity and looters and stuff like that. I like those things too, but for me, I just like playing multiplayer games and going from being someone that's just like, oh, I'm okay in this game to I'm really good in this game now. So I do play a lot of them. I've been playing XDefiant.
Ubisoft's game.
In closed beta again, and I really have to kind of give Ubisoft their props with that one, because with that game,
what's the frame rate in that game? What's the frame rate in that game? The frame rate.
Oh, well, I'm playing. Well, it's only on PC.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. I'm just asking.
So, as of right now, I mean, it's gonna come out on like Xbox and PlayStation when it's officially out. But all the betas that they're doing have all been on PC. Yeah. And of course, I've been playing it
as they should.
Well over like 150 frames per second. Really, like it's running on what's the engine for the Division Snowdrop engine. It's running on that. It looks nice. It looks good, but it plays well. It plays really well.
Okay.
It's a third person perspective shooter, but what's really awesome with it is that, like, they really listen to what the gaming community says.
Yeah.
They say, like, we don't like this, we don't like that. You should change some of these things. They really have been, like, really on it, because when that game first came out, when they first had a test for it, it was like the worst playing multiplayer game I've ever played in my life. And when they went last December, they came back for a year and a half hiatus, everybody laughing at it. They came back with another closed beta, like a complete 180 in improvement. And currently, right now, it's even better than it was then with some of the balancing issues that people brought up, that I brought up, that they've addressed. So, those are the kind of things that you kind of want when you're playing a shooter. And I said third person perspective. That's actually a first person shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a first person shooter, and people tell you your gunplay is lacking, and you fix it, that's great. When
Yeah,
people
that's
tell you,
absolutely great. Yeah.
hey, we don't like how some of your characters in your game are OP, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's like an imbalance because everyone's using just the OP characters. They fix it. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it comes to, I got something we'll definitely be talking about. If your community says you need to have a game,
Mm-hmm.
a first person shooter higher than, performing higher than 30 frames per second, you should listen. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in regards to what
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have been talking about this week with Redfall,
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah,
should delay that game.
and that's kind of my that's why I was kind of leading in with your expertise in the shooting genre, because one of the things that I'm seeing with the Redfall situation, we all know it's going to launch at 30 FPS. It's a shooter in the first person. I can't even talk. First person perspective, and it's only 30 FPS. And to me, it's like that's not acceptable. I mean, I think you would agree with this, Slow-Mo. The standard, especially now that we're on these next gen consoles, and we remember more, and this is specific to Microsoft's marketing of the Xbox Series X, where remember it eats monsters for breakfast, 12 teraflops, velocity architecture. It's the most powerful console in the world, most powerful console ever made. There's no question that the Series X is a capable piece of hardware that unfortunately I don't think's been utilized well. But it's got some really impressive specs for a game console. And so
it does.
Yeah, I mean, given the expectation,
it should be no problem with this game running at 60 frames per second. And of course, I'm not a developer, right? But we've seen other games that look better than this game that are using the same engine as this game, and they run in 60 frames per second.
What other games are using this? So what other games are using this engine, Slow-Mo?
Fortnite.
Okay, we all know Fortnite.
Fortnite is actually running a more advanced and higher, more intensive and harder on the hardware version of this engine because Redfall is running on Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah, no, Fortnite's running on Unreal 5 now.
Yeah, 5.1,
which is definitely more taxing.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think I have to double check, but I think on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, there is a performance mode that can do 120 for Fortnite. I think, but it's at least 60. At least 60 you can definitely do on Fortnite, and that's the game is running. Same type of engine, same foundation of an engine. Game looks better. Looks better than what Redfall looks. It's just I think you can excuse the visuals of Redfall if those visuals are being the lack of textures, the lack of detail in the environment, the lack of additional pixels is being that additional bandwidth and extra memory that you have available is being put to good use. And when you see the game and you've seen like footage of the game, let's just ignore the IGN footage because IGN footage is abysmal and IGN should never have an IGN first. No one should give their games to IGN in that kind of manner. But you look at the other footage that they themselves have shown, it's not doing anything on a like that we haven't seen done before that would tell you, yeah, this can't run at 60 frames per second. It just tells me that the game is unfinished. It's not ready.
Yeah.
And why are you releasing unfinished games? Is my question. And to talk about gunplay for a moment, right? So what they're trying to do with Redfall, and now I've said this from the very, very beginning. If you remember when they first showed Redfall, I said this reminds me of Borderlands.
I do remember
And
that.
a
Yeah.
lot of people was like, Left 4 Dead, Left 4 Dead. This is nothing like Left 4 Dead. And Left 4 Dead, game design wise, this is nothing like Left 4 Dead. People are just saying that because there are 4 different characters that are distinct, like created characters. That's I mean, Borderlands has that too. But even with Borderlands, there are characters like Deventer and other characters in Redfall that have like specific aspects of their personality, that their design, their abilities, they are lifted directly from characters from Borderlands. Deventer is like Mordecai in Borderlands. Layla is like all the sirens in Borderlands. Like it's almost 1-to-1.
Yeah,
But
I remember
outside
you
of
saying
that,
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
on a game design perspective,
Mm-hmm.
no one has ever said Borderlands is like has got the best gunplay ever. No one's ever said that. But that's also never been Gearbox's focus. Gearbox's focus has been on look at our abilities, look at our very versatile skill trees.
I was gonna say
Look
skill
how
tree. Yeah.
you can build your character to
Mhm.
be something completely different
Customization.
than someone else's character, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The gunplay and your ability to have a quick ADS, a quick aim down sights, quick weapon swap, the actual like balancing recoil to seem realistic while also making this still be playable and also not making it like super unrealistic to have no recoil. Uh okay, people still say I need to get my mic.
No,
up.
I think
Okay.
our tops. I think he's messing with you, man.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, I think he's messing
but
with you.
like those balancing those things are decent in Borderlands, but it's not like Borderlands' gameplay isn't based around the shooting. It's based around the personality of the characters, your other abilities, your ultimates, all that other stuff. And Redfall has that. So I understand where I'm not expecting from Redfall Call of Duty kind of gunplay.
No, I'm not
expecting
either.
Halo Infinite kind of gunplay,
Which is the
because
best.
Those games, which is the best, right? Those games rely on that, but it has to be good enough that it's not a distraction.
Yeah,
That
like
it's
I.
not
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's like that. Like I don't want to shoot my gun because it's so bad shooting my.
You
gun,
you actually
right?
want to try using certain like different weapons.
Yes,
like you want. Yeah.
yes. And I think that when I look at some of the footage and I look at like some of the weapons, when someone playing the game switches from a pistol to a SMG, and I see no difference in the recoil, I see no difference really, and there's a lack of kickback with the weapons or the animations. I'm kind of miffed with that, because like even in those aspects,
Mm-hmm.
the games that you're drawing influence from do that better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, these are the kind of things that I think are problematic with the game. Of course, I haven't played it yet. When I do get a chance to play it, I'll know for certain what's what and how things have really turned out with it. But I think ultimately, when it comes to like, especially the topic here that we got today, like I don't think they've lost the gen yet, but they are at a very pivotal point. Like this year might be the most important year for Xbox in this generation, because this year is so important for them to dispel narratives about how they manage their studios, about how they deliver content, about whether Game Pass is a service that is more than just quality indie games, but then when it comes to AAA games, it's ho-hum AAA games or AAA games that publishers don't believe in no more, and then they throw it into Game Pass, like Rainbow Six Extraction, Outriders, so on and so forth. Like, can it be more than that? I think that's this year is going to be very pivotal for that in particular. And so far, it's not really looking too great when it comes to their decision making on things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't disagree with the decision making stuff and kind of the the mismanagement, the production pipeline. By the way, we have like 97 people here watching. Please hit that like button. Look, my issue is a couple things. Yeah, and I'll reserve judgment of gunplay and the overall game mechanics until Redfall comes out. But it's something as I watch gameplay footage, something just seems a little off to me. Like it's almost like the same feeling I got when I saw the footage for. I know a lot of people like comparing Forspoken, and I'll use it in this comparison because that's the most recent game where I had this kind of feeling of something looks off. Something just seems a little off to me with Redfall, but I feel like the game movement seems a little slow for how confined or how confined that space is. It doesn't seem like you're in this big open world. In that smaller environment, I would expect like more fluid movement. But anyhow, but my thing is a couple things, Slow-Mo. One, the production pipeline, managing the production pipeline. Like, how do we get to this point where you are about to release a game in a couple weeks, May 2nd, I believe this game comes out, and you're saying, well, we're not going to have a 60 FPS, option at launch. Like, we're not going to have that. We're not going to have a performance option at launch. It's going to be 4K, 30 FPS, 1440p on the Series S, and 30 FPS. And look, if you go back to the marketing of the Xbox Series X, and we talked about it when we started the show, Slow-Mo, it eats monsters for breakfast. 12 teraflops, 12, velocity architecture. It can make your kids pancakes in the morning. I mean, this thing was touted, and they did it. And I never forget, by the way, what big shout out to Eric Jackson, and I'll never forget E, and I think B Money said the same thing. Those two were and I was all in on the hype. I think you remember that. So I'm like, yeah, like the 12 teraflops is gonna be amazing. And I remember conversations I was having with Optimus Code, rest in peace, Optimus Code. And him saying, hey, that's all 12 teraflop. That's just marketing words.
Yep.
It doesn't mean anything. He said it. He's saying it's all about talent, tools, and resources. And we're seeing a lack thereof with Xbox. And
I missed that time. Almost missed that time period because we remember right before the new consoles came out. Everything was about hardware. Every podcast was talking about hardware. And I could always tell, the reason why I say I kind of miss it, because it's like that's been kind of replaced by nothing but acquisition talk, which is even more annoying to me. But I missed that time period because I could always tell who knew what they were talking about, who didn't know what they were talking about. Because the guys that kept harping on teraflops and harping on the PS5's teraflop number and the Xbox's teraflop number, I knew that they were the guys that weren't really understood hardware, understood what it was about. That teraflops were not important whatsoever. Like, teraflops is it's a computing speed. How many floating point operations can you do in 1 second? But what does that have to do with gaming? How fast that is has nothing to do with gaming, especially considering that every the teraflop number of a particular piece of architecture is different than it's calculated differently depending on the architecture. So it's like if you have, say, and go in PC terms, like a RTX 2060. And whatever, I can't remember whatever the teraflop number what it was for that, because it still doesn't even matter. But then you have a 3060. If they have the same teraflop number, that doesn't mean they have the same exact performance, because their architecture is different. And it takes way more than that to understand the capabilities of this hardware. You can't look at one teraflop number and say, oh, because this has a higher teraflop number, therefore this is a more powerful piece of hardware. That's not how this works. Ever. Yeah. So it's just like it's silly, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Man. No, it is. And but my point of bringing up the 12 teraflops thing is because Slow-Mo, like and you mentioned RTX cards. When you upgrade a GPU from, let's say, the 2070 to the 20 series or 30 series, you have an expectation, right? You have an expectation that the newer card is going to do things that the other card couldn't do, right?
Right.
This has been for the last 40 years that I've been a console gamer, every generation. It's funny. I had a conversation with Lord Cognito today. We were talking on the phone, and we were talking about like the expectation that we have as gamers going from a generation to a new generation. And we talked about like when going from the 8-bit era to the 16-bit era. And we talked about like the Sega, going from the Sega Master System to the Sega Genesis, and seeing those Genesis games for the first time being blown away, right? And so when I think about the expectation that we have as gamers, that each generation, each iteration, new generation that we have, there's an improvement in terms of the types of games that we experience, right? That there's performance improvement, and specific to this genre, Slomo, and I think you would probably agree with me that for shooters, 60 FPS is pretty much the standard and expectation at this point.
Yeah. That's the minimum. You need to have it at the minimum. Like, it's so important in shooters. I always use this example because I think this is like the perfect example of why a high frame rate and also a high hertz on your display, or whether it's a monitor or a TV, is really important. Linus Tech Tips some years ago did a experiment. He took some content creators like Paul's Hardware, typical, just the guys. He's got a YouTube channel about PC hardware. He's not exactly like the first person shooter guru, but he took regular Joe kind of guys and had them compete against Shroud, the Twitch streamer who it dominates in literally every first person shooter that he plays. And the way they did this experiment is they had Shroud playing the game on a 60 hertz monitor, and then they had identical hardware for everyone, but then they had like Paul running on a monitor that was 240 hertz.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why Paul was keeping up with Shroud, and
I remember that
competition they had.
Yeah, I remember this.
Because having more frames gives you more opportunity to see the targets you need to hit. Shroud didn't have the same opportunity, and so when they flipped it, and Shroud, when they had both had 144 hertz monitor, Shroud he washed them easy because of course the talent level was different. But the reason why I even brought that up is because 60 frames per second is so important for a first-person shooter, because it's important to the feel of the game. If people who used to play Destiny at 30 frames per second, once they finally got the Xbox Series, the Xbox One X out there, and they actually started pushing out games that were at 60 frames per second, oh man, people couldn't go back. I remember talking to Forte about this, and Forte was like, "Yo, I can't go back, man. I can't play this at 30 frames per second anymore." And it's just, out of all the games that are out there, all the different genres, there are two genres that absolutely this is so important with: first-person shooters and racers. It's so important with those. And you just can't be running at 30 frames per second. You just can't. And it just seems to me that I feel a lot of this stuff, we talked about hardware. This isn't a hardware issue. This is a management issue. The hardware is fine. There's nothing wrong with the Xbox Series X.
No, the hardware is great.
Issues
It's
with
great.
the Xbox Series S, right?
Yeah.
But the Series X is fine. There's nothing wrong with the hardware. It's the management. It's the management of how they decide to go about things. And it's either a game is releasing with not enough content, or it's releasing unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, outside of the outliers like Hi-Fi Rush that they shadow dropped and is ready to go right out the gate.
Great looking game, by the way. I do like the visuals of the game, but go ahead, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Quality title. But that's such an outlier, It's just like what we're used to dealing with them is Sea of Thieves releasing pretty and stable but no content. State of Decay 2 releasing buggy is all get out, had content, but super buggy. Halo Infinite,
Mm,
no
my
content.
my baby.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, what are we doing? How come y'all can't get it right? Because we keep telling you what we don't like, and
I
then and Phil Spencer keeps saying, "We'll do better.
yeah
We'll figure it out."
yeah.
That we're learning or whatever. But are you learning really? Because you keep making these same kind of mistakes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Slobo, and you're right. There's nothing wrong. That's the most frustrating part. This is the Xbox Series X. You're right. There's nothing wrong with that hardware. The hardware is great. They to me they knocked it out of the park. Like that reminds me of like OG Xbox. We're gonna put out the most powerful console, and there's no other console as powerful as what Xbox has. Okay, that's what they did with the OG Xbox. That's what they did when they released the Xbox 360. That the marketing of the 360. But the difference between those two consoles, Slobo, is what you just discussed. They actually released software that showed you how or why those consoles were the most powerful consoles of the market at the time. They haven't done that with the Xbox Series X, and to me, that's what's really disappointing. Even more disappointing about the Redfall thing is that you have the hardware that's capable of running 30 FPS, and you're not even giving that to the Series X after your marketing campaign. And I don't know. I sent you those tweets by Aaron Greenberg. I don't know if you saw them on your DM Slomo, but somebody asked Aaron, please force developers to give us the choice of either high performance or higher frame or higher image quality. We need 60 FPS back in consoles. Aaron replies, 60 FPS will be the Aaron Greenberg, by the way, direct head of marketing at Xbox, for those who don't know. Aaron Greenberg replies, 60 FPS will be the standard output, but the architecture allows us to support up to 120 FPS. Okay, again, the marketing.
Imagine the look. Now, I don't blame Aaron for that because that's the expectation that we all have, right? And that's also probably like he's not a developer. He's not he is an executive, but he doesn't make like decisions. Like he's in marketing. He doesn't make like management decisions for the studios. He said what he was told to say. He said what we all expected of Xbox first party games in this generation. And when you don't live up to that, like there is no excuses. There is no, well, see people saying, well, back on the PS2 and the PS3, in half of the last generation, you guys played games in 30 frames per second. Yeah, and now we're not. Ain't nobody trying to go back. Do you want all of your first party games to look like Chrono Trigger? Hey, look, that was acceptable.
Not Chrono
back
Trigger,
in
man.
the 90s. I love Chrono. That's my favorite game
I
of all
know
time.
Cross is better, but yeah, go ahead.
But hey, stop it. But still, like you don't want all your games looking like that. So why are we talking about you used to accept 30 frames per second? Why won't you accept it now? Because it's 2023 and the hardware can do more than that. And this isn't really about the fact that the game is they're going to pack 60 FPS in later. It's about the game not being ready. It's about how these content creators, some of them who saw the poor performance of it on PC, was flown out to LA, saw the poor performance, and chose not to speak on it until after this comes out. Then they speak on it. So not even the PC version is looking hot right now. When you bring them into a room and they're running on old PCs, the game's running on old PCs. The game is at 1080p on PC and having frame rate drops and can't stick to 60 frames per. That should be a layup. Enrique, you play basketball.
Yes.
The layup, easiest shot on the court.
That is
You're not supposed to miss layups.
No, that kind of layup is like Manute Bol, like standing over the basket with his arm and just dropping the ball in the net, like down. You remember Manute Bol was like 7'7" or something. Played for the Washington Bullets, but anyhow.
Yeah. And it's just
I
like
mean, we got that analogy, but
that
yeah,
should
go
be
ahead.
on PC, 1080p, 60 frames per second should be super easy. Barely an inconvenience. It should be your old, super old 1060 should be able to run that game, especially the way that game looks, at 1080p 60. Easy. But you got frame rate drops, and we a month away from launch. Oh no. I'm
Yeah,
expecting problems. And it's not the hardware's fault, as we said with the
it's
whole
not.
The Last of Us on PC. It's not the fault of the
Oh,
hardware.
you mean that abomination
Sony,
of a PC port by Sony?
yeah. Sony was like, "Oh, we want this out as soon as the TV show is up. We don't care what state the game is in. The game wasn't ready. Unfinished game. They launched it. What we're looking at right now, unfinished games.
Oh man,
They're
Slow-mo.
launching unfinished games.
Erodimus wants to know why you complaining about something that doesn't affect you.
This does affect me. I literally just talked about how the PC version appears to be coming out unfinished. Why are you making excuses, Rodimus, for Xbox instead of keep holding them accountable?
Yeah, I think
Why are you asking me why I am complaining? Why aren't you complaining about this, Mister? I don't have a PC, but I have an Xbox Series X. I'm gonna have to play this at 30 frames per second.
I think Erodimus has difficulty understanding that two states.
When have you ever complained about this, Erodimus?
Yeah, I don't.
Have you ever complained about anything that Xbox has done, Erodimus? That's a good question.
Yeah. I think what the interesting thing with Erodimus, I don't think he understands that there's two states of being can coexist, meaning that you could participate in the ecosystem, and still still complain about certain things that maybe aren't up to your standards or things that you're not happy with. I mean that happens all the time with different consumer products. So, I mean. Yeah, it's not an all or nothing, Erodimus.
Apparently, he's on a silent protest on social media. He will continue to defend Xbox and Xbox leadership tooth and nail, but when it comes to actually what he's going to play, he's not going to actually partake in this 30 frame per second first person shooter.
Erodimus, the thing is, you don't want to debate. You typically you're very dogmatic in your feelings about Xbox. So I don't think there's really a debate to be had. Look, if you enjoy the platform, that's fine. I won't fault you for that, but don't get upset. Look,
I go back and forth with him all the time like this, which is no problem. I'm me and Erodimus are cool. I like the guy. It's just that when it comes to these situations, and we do this all the time, when it comes to these situations where Xbox leadership needs to be held accountable for something, I always know which side Rodimus is going to fall on this.
Yeah.
I hear you. Put that cape on. He gonna put on that spandex. He gonna put on a big cut. Try to pretend like he got something down there that he ain't got right, and he gonna fly.
Oh man, come on.
He gonna jump off that building.
Not the cup.
Trying to be Super Saver Xbox. That's a ride. Shout out to him, man.
Yeah, but no. Look, I mean, like I said, I mean, it's the issue for me again is that ultimately this is another example of Microsoft not living up to an expectation that they've set with consumers. And also, again, consumers coming in with the expectation, as they do every console generation, that they're going to get a certain performance or increase of performance compared to the previous generation. And look, here we are year 3 into the life cycle of the Xbox Series X. And it's like, look, people got to remember, Microsoft's only, I think Sony has maybe 6-7 years on PlayStation. On Xbox in terms of being in the console space. I mean, Microsoft's been here for 21 years now, 22 years. It'll be 22 years this November. This isn't their first console. And the benchmark for me again is the bar they set with the software releases and the games they put out on the OG Xbox and the Xbox 360.
Do you think it's the current regime? Because honestly, if you look at
something's
their
a myth, man.
release schedule,
it's weird. Yeah.
When Phil Spencer had Matt Booty's job with 5 studios, he was releasing 1 or 2 games a year.
Mm-hmm.
Now with 24 studios, well, Matt Booty, I'll regulate this strictly to Matt Booty because he only has 15. He doesn't manage Bethesda, so those get coming at Matt Booty for Redfall. It's a bit misguided because he does not manage anything Bethesda, but at least Bethesda have been showing games and releasing games, which is something that Matt Booty and his 15 studios have not been doing.
Imagine if they didn't acquire Bethesda.
Man,
I mean, where would they be right? Bethesda's bailed them out. I mean, where would Microsoft be without Bethesda right now?
Oh man, look, that's tough, man. It's they got more studios. Well, up until when they acquired Bethesda, they had more studios that Matt Booty managed than Sony did total. Right? Sony is now, I think Sony is probably up at around 18 now with the acquisitions they've been doing. They still don't have the total that Xbox has total with ZeniMax Media there, but Matt Booty has 15 that he manages, and so far the content release cadence has not increased, even though he has tripled the number of studios that Phil Spencer had when Phil Spencer had his job. So it's like, at what point? I saw someone in the chat saying, "What is what is it going to take for Xbox to actually change?" I don't know. I don't think we have to kind of like be realistic with some things. Now, as I said before, I do not think Xbox has lost the gen already. No, I don't think that's the case. But I do think they could lose the gen if they don't start making changes in how they manage and maintain these studios and how they're being publishers over these games. It's unacceptable for Matt Booty to be just batting zeros every year, to not have games coming out, to having studios undergoing so much turmoil, to developers openly asking why certain things are happening in the studio, and where is Xbox leadership to step in and right this ship and get this going so that we can get back to working on the game. When you got studios telling you, oh, he wants to actually show Fable, and they're like, no, we ain't showing Fable. Who's in charge? Are you in charge of them, or are they in charge of you? Like, I think there are some people, and we all kind of like, we hate to see like somebody have to get replaced or get put in a different role, but like, we've all been in that. We all worked in a corporate environment. We've all been there before, where you look at someone, you're just like, yo, he or she, they're just not going to get it. They're never going to get it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Get somebody that's going to actually deliver and execute and get the job done. And he's not getting the job done.
No. And here's the thing, Slow-Mo. Like, we have, there's tangible ways, proof out there that you can benchmark this stuff, and in terms of their performance, in terms of their release cadence, or the games the games that they've released this generation. All right, like, let's look at what Sony's done. All right, Sony marketed the PlayStation 5 SSD. What do? Ratchet and Clank. That's the game that's going to be our showcase for the SSD that we talked about. They talked about haptic feedback, which I thought was a gimmick. I was like, yeah, this shit's a gimmick. And then I played Astrobot when the PS5 launched.
Astrobot's fire.
And I'm like,
that
Slow-Mo.
game really
Yes.
shocked me.
And it's actually a good, outside of the haptic, like big a showcase for the haptic feedback, the DualSense. It's actually a pretty damn good game.
Yeah. I feel like it was just it's actually a really good game, and I love the emphasis they made on PlayStation's history. It really had me thinking, like, because like sometimes you will unlock like unlockable items and stuff that would show up at like this little showcase in like the home area, and it'll be like accessories and other like devices that PlayStation had made over the years. I completely forgot about, and I was like, oh man, I remember that. It was a cool game. It was more than just Yeah, Jeeves, I'm your GPU. That song is fire. That was like, man,
Yeah, it was a
that
love letter
song.
too. Yeah.
I have a playlist
Uh-huh.
on my my YouTube Music, and I have a video games playlist, just great songs from video games. And I'm your GPU is in my playlist. That song is so good. That was just a good game, period. But what it really did, what it was like, you just know that was greenlit to highlight the importance and how good and how much of a change that you could get with the DualSense. But it
Yeah.
just became more than that because it was actually really a straight up quality game. I kind of wish that studio didn't get dissolved.
Yeah, me too.
Shout out to Donnell Brown with the $5 super chat that say, Slobo, since you don't want a Wentz jersey, how about I send you my Sean Taylor one? Hey, LOL, just playing. Don't be playing with me like that, man. Yeah, I'm gonna hold you accountable to that, man. Send me that Sean Taylor jersey, man.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping that thing. Wentz though, I'll when I wash my car, I'll wipe it down with a Wentz jersey.
Oh man, I wipe my rear end with it too. But
Exactly.
yeah,
man,
but
freaking Carson Wentz.
yeah. By the way, everyone, we got 152 people watching. Hit the like button.
By the way, a year ago, okay, Mr. Enrique here.
We're not talking about that.
Annoying the crap out of me every week. Carson is going to take us to the promised land, slow mo. I'm dead. I'm not lying. Enrique thought Carson Wentz was going to take us to the playoffs.
I was wrong. I'll admit it.
Yes, you were absolutely wrong. I tried to tell you.
Look, you were right. I don't disagree. You were 100% right. But look, we have 155 people watching. Everyone, please hit that like. We have 41 likes. Hit that like button. But so
definitely,
Slobo,
what is going on?
I don't know, man.
A third of y'all hitting the like button. Is 2/3 of y'all hate watching us? It can't be that many hate watchers. Come on, hit the like button.
There are probably a lot of hate watchers right now because they're like, oh, they're talking about a bunch of ponies talking about Xbox is dead. No, we're not saying Xbox. No, I'm not saying Xbox is dead. but what I am saying though, like, look, let's just, and this is just to be fair. Like, if you look at again, like, you could look at the production of both consoles, right, up until this point, 3 years into the generation. Look at the games that Xbox has released for their next gen consoles versus what PlayStation 5 has released, and look, I mean, again, look at the features that PlayStation advertised for the PlayStation 5 versus what the Series X or Microsoft advertised for the Series X. You could see that PlayStation, based on their software release, and we mentioned Astrobot's Playroom being one example of using the haptic feedback, and third-party developers have incorporated the haptic feedback of the DualSense with some of their games, and then obviously Sony first party showcasing the haptic feedback. But Sony, even with the marketing of the SSD, they released the last Ratchet and Clank game, and was Peppa Pig 60. Oh my gosh, my kids actually play that, by the way. They love it. But you see that Sony, with its marketing, has showed you software that speaks to that marketing. They're doing what they said this console will do through software, and Microsoft hasn't done that. I mean, like, for crying out loud,
it's a point about. I see what you're saying here. It's a point about when you say something, you absolutely have to deliver on that, right?
Yes.
Like if you say, like, for example, Spider-Man 2 is coming out later this year. If Sony comes out and says, like, I mean, there's already an expectation with that. Two Spider-Man games they've dropped in the past 5 years. Both of those games, the first one was only 30 FPS because the hardware could only handle it. But then after they did the remaster, after Miles Morales comes out, we have performance modes. We even have ray trace performance modes. Which come on, it's an AMD console. Ray tracing is not that great at ray tracing. Sorry, but it's ray tracing, right?
Yeah.
There's already an expectation set. And with that expectation, I don't need to hear from Insomniac that they got a performance mode for Spider-Man 2 coming out in September. I already know.
Yeah.
It's an expectation that is set by consistently hitting a mark where you just understand that this is what it is. Like the reason why so many people are hyped for Tears of the Kingdom, even before they knew the name was Tears of the Kingdom, back when they were calling it Breath of the Wild 2, people had an expectation for what Nintendo was going to offer. And when they saw the game, it was like, that's exactly what our expectation was.
Yeah, I mean,
You have an expectation. You have to deliver, and just what's unfortunate is that what we're seeing is that expectations aren't being met on the Xbox side. I do. Can you? I have. When's the last time IGN has been able to do it IGN first on what was it Horizon Forbidden West? Did they do an IGN first for that?
I
like
don't know.
I can't recall them ever doing the
I don't know.
IGN first for a Nintendo first party game. I think that they mostly do Nintendo has their own Nintendo Directs for these kind of games. Sony would do a whole state of place solely just to feature their games, and even if it's not their game, but it's a marketed game that's timed exclusive for their platform, like they did yesterday with Final Fantasy 16, an entire showcase just to show off that game. When they do that, they do it themselves. They don't let someone else do it, because I think that even though I have a
quality
very
control,
low,
man.
Exactly, it's a control
thing. Yeah.
Even though I have a very low expectation of what Xbox leadership is doing at the current moment, even I think if they would have saw ahead of time what IGN was going to put out with that boss fight against the Rook, they would have said no.
Yeah, like why would you allow that? Why would you allow that footage to go out? You know, like
and you know what makes no sense. And look, we content creators. We're going to talk as content creators for a second. When I make a video, and I know I haven't made too many videos in a while, but I'm getting back to it. When I make a video, and I got background footage going in as I'm speaking, or if I'm showing gameplay of me playing the game, I'm not showing you the game where I went 12 for 12. I'm not showing you the game where I went 10 for 12 in Call of Duty. I'm showing you the game I went 36 and 5.
Yeah.
I'm showing you the game. I'm showing you the boss fight in Elden Ring where I beat the crap out of the boss and I never took a hit. I'm not showing you when Melina Blade and Milica bodied me and I never got out of the first phase.
No, because nobody's going to want to play that game. Now that looks too hard. I'm out.
Exactly. Why are you showing that? Why are you showing yourself failing? Like who does that?
Notice the gameplay footage of Final Fantasy 16.
36 and 5 in COD. Albert, I've done that quite a few.
No, actually, Slomo's actually done that.
I'm not trying to pat my own back.
It's okay to flex, man.
but there's like it's when it comes to showing your game in the best. I'm not going to show me taking I'm not going to show a boss curb stomping my teammates and I'm running to go pick a lock on a garage. Why are you playing like that? I'm not going to show somebody shooting at a random enemy, waiting to them get down to 2% health and then run off and doing something else. Why are you doing that? Like, what is that gameplay? But like, you gave it to IGN, the same people who had the Cuphead debacle, who had the Forspoken debacle.
Yeah, let me. I want to answer Erodimus's. He said because Xbox did advertise FPS boost, VRR, quick resume, and the beginning, buy one copy, you get a free upgrade of the game. Okay. Like, look, I mean, honestly, like I don't buy consoles because they're for free upgrades of games or because they're giving me, FPS boost for older games or VRR. VRR is a nice implementation. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad they did it. But at the end of the day, it didn't scratch that itch of new next gen content on the machine that eats monsters for breakfast. And that's the point, Erodimus. Like even if you look at like Sony's, even their cross generation games that are on PS exclusives, that are first party exclusives, that are on PS4, PS5. Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West. I mean, those are cross-gen games. They looked amazing. They looked amazing on the PS5. Look at Ratchet and Clank. Amazing. I mean, hell, even the remake of what is it? Demon Souls. Look great,
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Game, yeah.
Yeah. Look, that's fine. They're quality of life features, but I'm not buying consoles for quality of life features. I'm buying consoles for new games, for new experiences.
Quality of life features, I expect that.
Yeah,
like it's an expectation. It's like when you buy a car.
That's a low bar.
You expect automatic windows. I'm not rolling it down like it's 1984.
Yeah.
I expect to just hit a button and it comes up. I expect AC. I expect anti-lock brakes. I expect
power steering.
Basic. I expect floor mats in my car. I expect headlights and windshield wipers. Like, this is stuff that is expected.
Yeah, so Rodimus, you could quick resume in a game from PS5. You put your PS5 to sleep, fire it back up, and go back into the game.
When I buy a new console, even though I don't have I have a Series S, and I don't even know why.
But see,
I don't use it.
Okay, I got to do it. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hmm?
No, I was gonna say. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a certain expectation that comes with that. Like there are certain things that I expect. Look, it has an SSD in it, so I know that loading is faster on this than it was on when I both had. I once had a Xbox One X. That's just the expectation. That's the windshield wipers. It's supposed to have that. It's a new car. It's a new console. It's supposed to have those things. But above that, what you expect from its actual software, you expect the software for the guy that makes the system to be better and more quality and higher in a higher level than the third parties.
Okay,
like your third party got 60 frames per second, but you don't.
So here's the thing, and I agree with everything you just said, Slomo. Like what Aram is describing are things that are like.
By the way, Aram said someone timed him out. Yo, don't. I don't see anyone.
Yeah, I don't see anyone. Aram, I don't. Yeah.
Unless he says something disrespectful, which I don't think he doesn't talk like that. Don't time him out just because you disagree with him. Go ahead, Enrique.
Yeah. Don't do that because I don't know. Yeah, Ice Queen saying not me. I didn't see him. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, sorry about that, Rodimus. But like what you described, like what Slomo said, those quality of life features, those are like gimmies. Like those are expectations, right? Like when you walk into McDonald's, you expect to have, a good fast food meal. That's an expectation, right? It's a very bare minimum, bare bones. But like he's saying, it took PS5 2 years to get VRR. Okay, Rodimus, I would rather have next gen software than VRR any day. I'm not spending $500 on a console because it has VRR or because it has quick resume. That's ridiculous. And I often feel, and I'm going to go on a rant now. Sorry, Slomo. I often feel like part of the issue with the Xbox community at times, and not everyone in the Xbox community, because good for the people that have spoken out about this Redfall thing, because a lot have, and it's good to see that. But there's some that are still making excuses for this, still kind of giving Xbox a pass, or kind of, I'm not trying to pick on Euronymous, but kind of doing what Euronymous is doing here. But like, I'm seeing a popular YouTuber out there saying, this is a popular Xbox YouTuber saying that this is the Xbox has an incredible 2023 from Xbox Game Studios. How? Where? Like, it's almost self-inflicted by the community at times because they don't hold Microsoft's feet to the fire. And they listen because you see Aaron interact with these podcasts or these people on Twitter. You've seen Phil interact with people on Twitter. You've seen who's the old guy? Major Nelson interact with people on Twitter and show up on Xbox Centric Podcast. Like it's again, it's fine if you like the platform, but please, hold them accountable, because 3 years into a console generation and we don't have that game that makes you put the controller down and be like, wow, this is why I need an Xbox Series X. We haven't gotten that. I mean, like, Slomo, when you got an original Xbox, why did you buy the OG Xbox?
The OG Xbox?
Yeah.
I bought it for Halo.
See? There you go. Killer app. The must-have killer app.
And I kept playing Halo for years and years. And then I got Knights of the Old Republic. And I got Jade Empire. and actually a number of other games that The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, so
Yep.
good. Like the original
Remember Chronicles of
Xbox had,
Riddick?
like Chronicles of that game was shocking how good that game was.
That game came out of nowhere, and it was exclusive on Xbox.
Yes, it was.
See that, and that's my point.
Man.
I know people bring up Forza Horizon. Look, Forza Horizon, beautiful game, but that's that must-have killer app that's going to drive people to the platform. That's going to really get a lot of people excited. You know, like the way Halo did, or Gears.
I gotta understand, racers a niche, man.
Yeah,
I always say this. Even I don't care about Gran Turismo either.
I don't care about. I would never use GT7 as a selling point for a PlayStation 5.
No, it's a racer.
It's a racer.
If you're into racers, that you're into those games. If you're not into racers, you do not care.
Yeah, and this is my point too, Slimo. Like about getting those killer apps for the Xbox platform that they haven't had in a long time. I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Drufus says Halo and KOTOR changed how I looked at gaming.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and look, Benji Sales just released numbers. Talked about the console sales numbers, and right now the Xbox Series consoles are tracking alongside the Xbox One.
Yeah, and because they need the content that's coming out. This is why I said that this year is so important for them. This year and next year are pivotal for Xbox this generation, because now all those acquisitions they made in 2018, 2019, acquiring ZeniMax Media in 2020, all of that is now culminating in content, the delivery of the content that's supposed to happen this year and next year. And sure, there are other games that are going to come out after that, but the actual like result of the amount of money that they put in is going to start showing up soon, and whether it was really worth it or not. And I think either two things are going to happen. It's either going to be a worthwhile investment that delivered, and Xbox is going to be kind of transformed. The brand will be transformed due to it, or we're going to see that spending money isn't enough. Spending billions upon billions of dollars is not enough. You have to be able to manage it, to cultivate the talent, to mold it, shape it, teach them, get them to the point where they can get across the finish line. And I think there's some studios they don't need nothing from Microsoft but a checkbook. But that's not all of them. I think Ninja Theory's like that. I think Double Fine's like that. Obsidian, they don't need nothing from Microsoft but their money. They're good to go. But the rest of these guys, 343, Compulsion, Undead Labs, The Initiative, they need help.
Well,
Playground is great at racers. They're doing a whole new thing now. They need help.
I have
providing that help.
Yeah. I have a theory here, Slomo, that I want to present to you. Something that Sean Layden said about mergers and acquisitions kind of stood out to me, and I've been through about three. I've been professionally been through 3 M&As. The ones that haven't worked out were ones where there were issues with leadership, and there was issues with culture. The value systems of the organizations didn't align, didn't mesh well. And so they didn't work. And Sean Layden talked about Sony's philosophy of M&As or acquiring studios. And he basically said that the reason why they have acquired studios that they've had long working relationships with is because they've built a relationship with those studios. They've come to understand each other, and they have cultures that mesh well. And he said the one thing that can really ruin merger acquisitions is when you have cultures that don't mesh well, that have different ideas, different viewpoints, right? And I'm wondering, and I'm throwing this out to you, Slow-Mo. We know Bethesda is running their own show. I interviewed there in 2021, and that's one of the questions I asked them in the interview. How is this acquisition by Microsoft going to change you? And they told me it's not going to change us. We're going to operate the way we always have. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that before in M&A. Usually the company that's acquiring the other company is usually putting its if it doesn't do it right away, at some point it's going to put its stamp on the organization they acquired. So I'm wondering if what we're seeing now, and my theory is this, Slimo, what if there's a different set of expectations, a different sense of urgency between Microsoft and Bethesda?
So you think maybe there's more pressure on Bethesda than there is on Xbox Game Studios?
No, what I'm saying is, what if Microsoft's actually applying more pressure, or is has maybe a greater sense of urgency than Bethesda does, but because Bethesda has this autonomy, they're kind of just.
But Bethesda actually puts pressure on their developers far more than Xbox does. I believe that's the case. Absolutely, I believe that not Todd Howard, what's the other guy's name? Hines, is it? What's his name? What's the other guy's name that's in leadership for ZeniMax Media?
Well, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying, so it's not that Bethesda's putting more pressure. It's that perhaps, and X-Abbott said, perhaps the entire point of Xbox recent buys is they don't mix cultures, and I get that, but Bethesda still has to report up, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if Bethesda has autonomy and they can just do what they want, and Microsoft's like, damn, we really need to get these games, Bethesda doesn't have that sense of urgency. Like, something's got to give. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's got to be, they both need to be on the same page.
Clearly given here because Redfall is an unfinished game and they're still releasing it. And I actually kind of feel like the reason why Redfall is getting kind of like the short end of the stick here is that Forza Motorsport already is missing that 12-month commitment window. Starfield got delayed out of that 12-month commitment window. Redfall is the last man standing, and frankly, it needs to also be delayed out of that 12-month commitment window. But doing so will have them showing up at E3 after having their last E3 saying the games that we show here are all coming out within the next 12 months, and none of their own games made that mark. I almost kind of have to wonder if there is some pressure there from Xbox leadership to ZeniMax Media leadership of, we kind of need Redfall to release now anyway. It ain't ready, but we need it. We need something to deliver in that period, even though it had nothing to do with Arcane, even though it was not Arcane's decision. Even though nobody told them to jump out there and only show the next 12 months of games at last E3, which was a mistake, and I always said it was a mistake from the very start. But like, I do kind of wonder if that is where this is coming from, because the game's not ready. Enrique, they had on the store page for Redfall.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
In the tags, 60 frames per second. It was in the tags for the game, and they took it out. This game was always everything they showed the game was running. All the footage that Arcane has put together and shown of the game has always been running at 60 frames per second.
Mm-hmm. You know what?
That has always been the expectation for the game, and if you can't get a consistent 60 FPS running on either of your consoles, your game isn't ready. Period. It's not ready. So why are they releasing it?
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And you know what I'm wondering? Like, what if Microsoft has a problem child with Bethesda, where Bethesda's like, hey, we this is how we do stuff, and that's it. Remember, we have autonomy.
They acquired them like that. I don't know if that's like in the contract or whatever, but look, you set the expectation.
They have their own show.
You gotta live with it.
Notice they do their own marketing. Yeah. They have their own show, right?
Yeah. I
say they meaning Bethesda, ZeniMax. They do their own marketing. They They I mean, like Pete Hines is. I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like, and I wonder, when you acquire ABK, that comes with its own set of problems, as we're aware of.
Yeah, and I think that's problematic for them because a lot of the studios they acquired, as well as publishers they acquired, they all say the same thing. They told us that our culture wouldn't change. They said that we wouldn't have to do things the Microsoft way. We can still be ourselves, but we can still make the same games that we want to make. We just don't have to worry about the how do we keep the lights on from month to month. We don't have to worry about the marketing. We don't have to worry about the publisher coming in and enforcing their will by way of saying we're not going to finance the game anymore if you don't do certain things with the game creatively. We have that freedom. Well, this is what that looks like when I think, give up too much of that power. Because sometimes you need to step in and say,
accountability.
I appreciate what you're doing, but this ain't it. Like the way Yoshida stepped in with Sony Santa Monica and was like, that build of God of War they showed him, this ain't it. And then what did we get? We got a game of the year. When they came back and took the accountability, took the constructive criticism, accepted it, and made a better game. We don't know of any stories like that with Xbox. We see that with Nintendo when the studio that was doing Metroid Prime 4, Nintendo said this is so trash that we are canceling this version of the game, giving Metroid Prime 4 back to Retro Studios, and they're going to make Metroid Prime 4 now. That's how bad it was. They didn't say, hey, well, it is what it is. They just release it, even though we don't believe in it.
Yeah. I'm seeing some interesting... Yeah, go ahead.
When Aspire, who I said never should have been given the reins for a Knights of the Old Republic remake, came out and showed their vertical slice to Sony and into Lucasfilm Games, and they saw that, and it was so bad, they fired Aspire and gave it to the support studio. That's holding people accountable when they don't do good enough. And if you say, hey, look, we'll give you creative, you can make whatever you want, you what you get is you get stuff like Everwild, where you're like, what is this game? We don't know. Yeah, we don't know what it is yet. So why'd you show it? Show me the game when you know what it is. You showed 2 teaser trailers and don't have a clue what the game is. Who is making these kind of decisions? Matt Booty? Like, hello? I've never seen that before. I'm gonna show you a game. I don't know what it is though. So I don't know. You tell us what you think it should be. What's your theory? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get that crap out of here, man. Show the game when you actually know what the heck the game is. This is it's not. It can't be this hard. It really can't. They spending millions and billions of dollars on this. Is crazy.
They seem to step on their toes a lot, and that's kind of, and it just, yeah. I mean, and now you look at, obviously there's an impact in sales. I mean, you see it. I mean, this is something that's, that we're seeing, where, Benji Sales, I said this earlier, he said, hey, look, the Xbox Series consoles is tracking at the same pace of the Xbox One now. And then you look at the PlayStation 5, it's, now we said this, once Sony is able to get PlayStation 5s on store shelves regularly, that thing was going to take off. And you see what it's done year over year. I mean, it's exploded.
Yeah.
But that's,
and I don't want. I know we sound real negative, but I really
that's not a slanting at Xbox, by the way.
I mean, look,
that's just the reality of the situation, though. Like one platform's outselling the other one. I mean, that's not a slant. It's just a reality. Me too.
I actually think Fable's going to be good. I have it on good. I know someone that has told me on good authority the game is looking good. I have faith in Playground because they do good work. They've done good work in the past. I absolutely think Fable's going to be awesome. I want Hellblade 2 to be great. I want to play these games. I've been hyped for Redfall since the very beginning. But when you see things not being done correctly, or you wonder why the kind of decisions that are being made, it has to be, people gotta be held accountable, man. Like you shouldn't be releasing a shooter with no 60 frames per second mode, period. Not in 2023. Absolutely not. Stop it.
Yeah.
And the whataboutisms, the Rodimus, like we're not talking. Yeah, The Last of Us Part 2 factions being MIA for 4 years is egregious, and so needs to be held accountable for that too. But what does that have to do with Redfall?
It doesn't. And here's the
what about your straw man argument? What about this?
Rodimus loves a straw man. He loves a straw man. Look, Rodimus, here's the difference, though. Here's the difference. And I don't disagree with you. Yeah, it is a shame that Factions has been MIA for 4 years. I want to see Factions.
All they've shown is concept art. It's ridiculous. It's not even a teaser trailer.
No, not even a teaser. But I'll say this. But what has Sony done in the meantime? They've released other content. They've consistently been releasing content. They've been, and when they're not releasing first-party content exclusives, they have third-party deals. Look at Final Fantasy 16. Wow. I mean, like, look at GCAN no look, or I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. Genkin KO, or like I get
GCAN Co.
Yeah, Microsoft is because Sony has already had a streamlined pipeline because they had their teams in place, and so Microsoft's still expansion phase. Microsoft's been in the console business for 21 years, going on 22 years. That's not an excuse. You're putting out a product, you're charging people $500. That's not an excuse. It's just not. I mean, like and they're acquiring studios that have made video games before. It's not like they're acquiring new teams. Some of the studios are fairly new, like The Initiative. But Bethesda's not new. Bethesda's been in the game for a long time, since the 80s. But like, look, I mean, like, to the point of place. I mean, like, even when they're not releasing first party stuff, they are locking up exclusive content for the PlayStation 5. They're feeding their consumer base games that you can only get on that platform. I mean, the Final Fantasy 16 trailer slow-mo, I thought looked, and to your point about, like, you don't, like, I think you said earlier, like, you don't want to show gameplay where, like, the boss is stopping out the person that's demoing the game, a lot.
They didn't show that. They
didn't show that Final Fantasy 16.
What's the main character's name in Final Fantasy 16? It's like
Clive.
Clive, like they're showing Clive getting curb stomped and comboed in the air.
No, Clive was doing the combo in the air. Clive was
exactly.
Yeah.
You show it in his best light. You don't show Clive getting killed 6 times in a row. Like, who wants to see that crap?
Yeah, but
oh man,
I do have one more question for you, Slow-Mo. Before I have to wrap up the show because I got to get to Crossfire in a little bit.
Okay.
I guess the interesting thing here is, in the past you've said that Game Pass is the platform, it's not the console. And I've never bought into this idea of the Game Pass effect because I always thought it was like a dumb fanboy argument. Okay. But now I'm starting to wonder, Slow-Mo. You get games out like Redfall at 30 FPS. Hey, no big deal. It's in Game Pass. You see that? You see the community saying that. They speak that to existence. Not everyone in the Xbox community. They start speaking that to existence. And they send a message. Hey, you know what? It's fine. It's in Game Pass. We'll just wait for the update. Or we'll play it in Game Pass because it's quote unquote free. And part of a subscription service, and one of the things Netflix has had trouble with is churn and putting in consistent content. Do you think that because the quote unquote console isn't necessarily the platform anymore, and Game Pass is the platform for Microsoft, for Xbox, and those platforms, those subscription platforms, live and die on how much content, and Microsoft's all in. Do you think that maybe they're going to start rushing out content, and maybe we see less AAA exclusives and games that maybe released a little rush because, hey, look, they got to get games in a Game Pass. They got to feed the beast. Remember what Matt Booty said?
I think
ahead,
it's
man.
less of a Game Pass issue and more of just a condition of the industry itself. And when publishers aren't delivering, they unfortunately start rushing things. They think the release of the game is more important than the game being of quality. I don't think Game Pass is the problem because we see this all over. Take Battlefield 2042 for example. The DICE developers absolutely admitted that the game was not ready, but they expected the community, as they've done with Battlefield in the past, to wait on this unfinished game to get it ready because it worked with Battlefield 5. Oh, I'm sorry, Battlefield 4. 4 or 5. One of those Battlefields. They absolutely expected that the people would just wait around for them to fix the game after launch. This is a condition of the internet age where you don't really have to ship a complete game because as soon as it arrives, as soon as they go to install it in their console, there's a day one patch right off the break. 30 gig day one patches. Oh, we'll patch it after the fact. We just saw Sony do with the PC with The Last of Us. Released the unfinished game within 1 week. 4 patches.
Oh man, that was such
1 week.
that was so bad.
Doing it. It's a condition. This isn't a Game Pass issue. It is a gaming industry.
I agree with you.
Really taking us, the gaming community, for granted issue.
But we buy into it though.
The only platform. That's why they do it, because they know that we'll still buy the game and we'll still play the game, and they've seen it be successful where people wait around. Sea of Thieves released with no content. All you could do was ride around beautiful water, ride around on the boat, and kick chickens and collect them and take chests to some dude and make money for no reason because there was nothing else to spend it on. No content at launch. Now look at Sea of Thieves thriving years later with content, expansions, PvP, all kinds of other modes and stuff. They look at that and say, hey, look, man, we can release it however, we can release it in a certain area that where the platform needs a release, but not necessarily where our game is ready. We can get it playable at that point. Then we'll just add the content later. We'll add everything that people want later. Freaking Bungie is teaching this. Bungie was at the Game Developers Conference last year. 2022's Game Developers Conference. They had a developer from Bungie there who was teaching how to do live service games. This is a Bungie developer teaching other developers to not go for A plus quality. To be a C level quality, deliver content in a way where you're not hitting everything they want. This allows you to kind of balance things out so that you're not overworking your staff and you can get content out whenever it's ready, whenever you think it'll be ready. Slow walking the content. He taught this. They actually had a guy teaching other developers to not get you content. And this is what Sony wants Bungie to do for their 12 or what dozen live service games. It's the way of the industry now.
But they make money, Slomo. It's big money.
It's about the fact that they now understand that with the internet and with every device being an always online device for the most part, they don't have to give you content at launch. And there's almost no repercussions for not doing it. Very rarely does it actually equal you just got like that developer, man, because we didn't have content or because that game was super buggy at launch, we failed, that game failed, and it was a massive failure and we lost a ton of money off of it. We'll never do that again. That rarely happens.
Yeah.
So because that rarely happens, everyone's doing it because the downside to it is minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, and but, you know, we a lot of this is self-inflicted, you know, like I said, I mean, and, you know, the Battlefield thing is a great example. I mean, look, people went back to that. You know, look at Cyberpunk. Look at No Man's Sky. You know, all games that people went back to. You know, even Rainbow Six Siege. I mean, it didn't, you know, when it first launched, it was kind of, you know, didn't launch in a good state, didn't have a lot of content. You know, I hope that that Halo Infinite has that rebound. I hope. But we'll see. We'll see. Look, we have like two.
And it doesn't always turn out the way where the publisher says, "Hey, it worked out, so we'll keep doing it." Like Sergeant 1312 in the chat, just, you know, he brought up a few games and brought up Anthem, and Anthem absolutely was a game that they absolutely said, "We'll just deliver all the content necessary that people expect from this game after launch." And that absolutely backfired on it. But also, Anthem was not a high quality game to begin with. The story sucked, the characters sucked. No one understood what was going on. The best thing about it was the flying mechanics and the actual combat. Outside of that, it was super buggy with no content. That's a double whammy. You can't come back from that, you know? And they lied to people. That initial trailer of Anthem they showed at 2017 E3 was a lie. That wasn't a game. You saw an extended cutscene. There was no game there. Even BioWare's own developers didn't know what that was.
They didn't know.
Yes. The game didn't know that was their game.
I remember that story.
Yeah, so it's just like that. They deserve that because they own that. They tried to lie to us and sell us on a game that wasn't in existence. Then tried to cobble something together in less than 2 years.
Look, you can fly like Iron Man. The flying mechanics are great, but that was about it. You know. Yeah. Oh man. But look, Slobo. Hey, well, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with us. And we had like 200 people here watching. Let's smash that like button. There's like 171 people who are watching right now. We only have 64 likes. Smash it. I got to be careful how I say that. And look, I'm going to be heading over to Crossfire, which goes live in about Crossfire. Yeah, that's. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that when I hop on the show. But yeah, Crossfire starts in exactly 16 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes. So I just dropped a link in the chat to Crossfire. So head over there because I'm heading over there after I wrap up this show. And that should be a great show. There's a lot of Mooch has lined up a lot of guests. He has Worrywart, Porter Rock, Kid Smooth, Lono Reforged Gaming, and I feel like I'm missing someone else. And I'll be there. Maybe Forte might show up. We'll see. But no, hey, Slow-Mo. Hey, man, it was great catching up with you, by the way, man. Always appreciate talking video games with you, and hopefully we get some gaming in, man. It's been a while since we've...
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's been a minute, man. We haven't done Halo. We haven't done COD. We haven't done anything in a minute. Hit me this weekend, man. I mean, I'm free, man.
Yeah, I will, man. I got. It's funny you mentioned your son's playing baseball. My son has his first baseball game tomorrow. So I got that in the afternoon. But yeah, I mean, we gotta. I really want to get back on Halo Infinite. That's what I want to get back to, man. I'm missing Halo Infinite right now.
Halo Infinite in like 2 weeks. It's been too long. I gotta get back in there. You know, get back to shooting people in the face. You know.
Man. Yeah, Halo was kind of I was Halo was frustrating me a little bit. You know, when I was playing it recently, because I was just I don't know, man. I just couldn't get no groove, man. I was in a funk, and then I hop on like Call of Duty. I play better on Call of Duty. I'm like, okay. I don't know, but yeah, I definitely want to hop on.
I
Halo
always,
Infinite,
always, it's weird how when people say all first-person shooters are the same. Like
they're not.
Definitely people who don't play.
No,
Like
no.
COD and Halo are so different.
No.
They play so different. It's. And then people say, oh, well, Splitgate's like the Halo, the watered down Halo, and I'm like, yeah, you could definitely see there a lot of influence from Halo and Splitgate, but even Splitgate don't play like Halo too. So it's every first person shooter is different, very different.
Yeah.
But I ain't trying to hold you up. Great show. Glad to be back again, Enrique. You guys can find me Slow-Mo Backslap on my channel of Slow-Mo Backslap. That's the name. I'll actually, let me go put a link in the chat. Where are we at? Last night we had Damage Per Second podcast with the homie Gaming Forte. Had a great time. Hope you guys can check that out whenever you're free. And we also have a DPS podcast channel, Damage Per Second podcast channel, that you can check out as well. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you again, Slow-Mo. Please click on the links that Slow-Mo dropped in the live chat. And Rodimus is slandering the chicken places in the DMV. I don't know which one he went to, but we'll have to find out. It was probably Chick-fil-A.
He went to some trash chicken spot at the harbor.
Oh, yeah, you can't go. Yeah, you don't go to the harbor.
Chicken. What are you talking about, man?
Oh, yeah, you can't do that, man.
National Harbor, man.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Great chicken spots there.
You can't go there. That's like saying, oh, I had a terrible fish sandwich from Red Lobster. Like you can't do that. Can't do that. So, but anyhow, everyone, hey, have a great weekend. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I really appreciate it. Come hang out with me and the panel at Crossfire. I did drop a link in the chat. That show goes live in 12 minutes now, so I'll be over there. But thank you again, everyone. Please, if you haven't done so already, smash that like button and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. So we'll catch you next time. Thank you.